You are listening to Double Doinkers Fantasy Football Podcast with Nick Meyer and Willie J. This week we bring to you the Week 9 recap, Week 10 preview, and the trade deadline synopsis, injuries, stuff like that, news, Welcome in. What's up, Willie? How you doing, Willie?
I'm doing all right. I'm just getting over being sick last weekend, so my voice has a little more personality.
You got to go stand in for someone. Like you get a role as someone who smokes a lot of cigarettes on a show. That's that sort of time.
Yeah, something like Jay Cutler. I could pretend to be Jay Cutler, Smoking Jay.
This would be a good time to do a skit on Smoking Jay with the DUI charge. Maybe, I don't know. But what's I hope everyone had a happy Halloween. I hope everyone enjoyed their time. If you did something, if you celebrate it. I hope everyone had something that they enjoyed in the trade deadline. There wasn't really a ton of, but we'll talk about it. There was a lot of trades, but not anything that necessarily directly impacts you in fantasy. There's a couple where we'll talk about, and then there's a bunch of defensive players that change kind of the defensive landscape of the league a little bit.
I think it could be years before a trade deadline trade affects fantasy as much as the CMC to the Niners one. I don't think we're ever going to see anything like that in fantasy.
Yeah, I agree, because there's also not like a lot of opportunities for seamless transition. Usually, like I was saying before, if you have a trade for a lot of these players, you kind of shelf them for a little bit because they are learning the team, and even then you can see with like Pickens this year, right? You get him traded, and that's a fantastic thing, but he's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah,
essentially. So
yeah,
who knows where he'll be next year and if that'll be relevant. You could go somewhere like the Seahawks, and oops, that stinks for everybody.
That'd be such a Jerry Jones thing to let Micah walk and then let George Pickens.
Dude, I think George is going to get paid big time.
I think so. I would hope that Jerry doesn't mess it up, but it's going to be like a Jamar T situation. And honestly, that's a good 1-to-1 comparison, because George Pickens has been as good as T Higgins has ever been.
But we also had like a bunch of injuries. We had pretty much everything this week. So this is week 9. At this point, you're probably starting to figure out where it shakes. I think for me, again, 6 wins, or not 6 wins, excuse me, 6 losses is the threshold that you really don't want to cross. So once you have 6 losses, you're on the must-win scenario. We're 9 weeks in, so you kind of know if you're 3-6 right now, you can't mess around anymore. No. There is no opportunity. If you lose another game, you're done. Yeah, of course, you don't quit because you're done, but you are done. So you got to be careful. If you're, 4-5, you're right on the threshold.
That's me.
It's me too. It's me too. Speaking of which, I had. I'm gonna start off with this because I really want to talk about it, because it's been sitting on my mind this whole time. I had the best week I've had this whole entire year. YOLO played Colston Loveland. If you listen to the last podcast, we talked about that. I said you want to throw him in because the Bengals are just incapable of understanding the tight end position. And it worked. It clearly worked. Colston Loveland blew up. He's the number 1 waiver wire pickup this week, which I want to be wary about right off the bat, because the Bengals really don't understand tight ends.
Yeah.
Colston Loveland could be good, but there's still the Bears. Lots of mouths on that team, and they're going to look to get something going for Rome soon.
And Cole Kmet was injured too, so it's not like Colston was the sole tight end for most of that game.
Yep, and I played Colston Loveland. I was so excited. He was my flex play. He made up for Tyler Warren kind of not doing much, and I still lost by 6 points. And it was Joe Flacco. It was every single player on the other team scored a touchdown. I'm just sitting here watching it, and I'm like, I can't go out this way.
What did it come down to?
It was 160 to 155.
Or was there a specific player that?
It's Trey McBride. For the first half, of course, I was given hope. Here's the thing: I want a game where they just immediately kill me. You know what I mean? Where I want, like, the first play is like an 80-yard touchdown to the player I'm going against, so I can just breathe and relax. I actually didn't watch this game because when I tuned in for like a second, Trey McBride caught his first pass, and I was like, okay, never mind, turning it off. I
Yep.
can't.
Don't
This
jinx
is
it. But then you did, yeah.
exactly because I turned it on at all.
Jacoby Brissett has thrown more touchdowns to Trey McBride in 2 games than Kyler has in the past 2.5 years, I think, or something like that. Something crazy. Because Kyler didn't throw a single touchdown to him last year. It was all like it was all a rushing touchdown and like a fumble recovery. And then
Mhm.
Kyler, he had 1 touchdown from Kyler earlier this year. And then I think since then, Jacoby's thrown like 4 touchdowns at least.
The 4 sounds right, yeah. Um, Jacoby just seems to be able to make that offense work better, and I don't know if it's a Kyler issue or if it's a, who's their offensive coordinator, Petzing? Is
That's
that
it. Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
I don't know who's at fault for this one because in theory, Kyler should be a good quarterback. We've seen it before, and I mean, it's we've also seen him look kind of lost. But how can you have so much talent and just not utilize it?
It really seems like, I mean, I don't think we've really seen it in his game, but it does kind of feel like since that ACL tear that ended Kyler's borderline MVP season, he's not been as good. That was his
Yeah,
peak. He's not gotten better since then.
yeah, and I mean, we it's not like it's unusual for players to act differently because it could be the physical strength of his body or it could be the mental strength.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna compare everything to Derek Carr because I'm a Raiders fan and we had him for like 12 years. But Derek Carr, he broke his leg and he played like a completely different player after that,
Makes
and
sense. Yeah. Makes sense.
hmm I don't think it was because he couldn't run as fast, but it's because something told him like don't do that anymore because that really stunk and it ruined our team's playoff chances, and I don't want to be the reason for that.
Yeah.
Uh, so I don't know. I don't know. It's but anyways, I'm out here telling you, if in week 9 you suffered a bad loss, trust me, there's people out there. Even if you make the right picks, where I had people in my league when you're really starting Colston, I'm like, heck yeah, man, I'm in it.
Of the NFL, I think this is, I mean, for Bears reasons too, but I think this was my favorite week so far. In terms of games, just excitement. Unfortunately, injuries, but like there was just a lot of good games. A lot of things got switched up. And then I guess he was already injured going into the Monday night game, but I do want to mention Kyler first because in case he hasn't shown up on the official injury report, but he has gone officially now to IR,
Mhm.
um, which kind of feels like it's a coaching decision as much as it is a injury decision. I mean, you can't deny the fact that Brissett's playing better. Um, Maybe like Gannon wants to give him like some confidence by like letting him sit and letting his foot fully heal before he comes back, but I don't know. It's interesting. That's out 4 games. That's most of the
I
season.
it's hard for me because I think if you're going on IR, I don't think you can really fake it. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be something real happening there.
Yeah.
But I do also think in 4 games we're gonna watch Jacoby Brissett fall apart, and I think that's
Yeah.
what we need to see
Yeah.
because he's looked a lot better. And if he can continue to lead the offense to any points, that defense looks like it's also looking a lot better, and they could actually win some games. Now, mind you, is the goal trying to get to the playoffs? They'd have to basically win out.
Yeah. I mean, they could finish 9-8 and have some optimism, but they're not
And
gonna
not
win
in the
that.
NFC West.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
too good of a division, and I have a hard time seeing them winning out.
No, yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But for now, I guess enjoy it if you have Marvin Harrison Jr., especially because he's come alive. I mean, it's not like Trey McBride was doing terrible before. He's got touchdowns, which raises his ceiling.
Yeah. He's been great every
Um,
week since Jacoby's been in there.
mhm, mhm. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's first jump into some of the injuries that happened because we'll leave the trade deadline afterwards because the trade deadline is more positive. So let's start on the negative. Let's get the bad news out of the way first, then we'll move on to the good news. And the first piece of bad news I'm going to bring up is really unfortunate, and that is tight end Tucker Kraft of the Green Bay Packers. So he's torn his ACL. He is out for the season. He is done. He's gone. He was number 1 tight end going into the week. And now every fantasy manager has him is scrambling to find a replacement. First off, I'm gonna just go ahead and talk. If you think Colston Loveland is the replacement, be wary. Once again, that's not. I don't expect this to be an every week thing. He might get an uptick in usage just from having the potential and talent, but we already knew he was talented. Ben Johnson already knew he was talented. I'm sure it's not that.
That's the thing, is that the reason Tucker Kraft, because Green Bay and Chicago are similar in the fact that they have a lot of mouths to feed, but I will say Chicago has a lot of talent, and Green Bay doesn't have a lot of elite talent. Like Tucker Kraft was the elite talent. So the one-to-one comparison would be more like Tucker to Rome. If Rome Odunze had gone down, hopefully that doesn't happen. But if that had happened, then Colston Loveland, that would have been like, it's not like a one-to-one because they're different positions, but it's the same kind of idea that Tucker Kraft was the number one elite pass catcher in that offense. And Colston is not, and he's not going to become that this year.
Right. And so who else are you looking at? Like Luke Musgrave is the one backup, but we've seen Luke Musgrave. Can get open deep. I think we've seen that, but he is not a yak guy, which is where Tucker Kraft really excelled and where this offense was able to use him.
I want to like Luke Musgraves, but he's an Oregon State Beaver on the Packers, so I just really can't.
That's fair. He flashed a little bit in his rookie season, a little bit, but I think the issue is going to be he's just going to get lost in the mix of these Green Bay Packers receivers.
Yeah,
he kind of does the same thing.
Yeah.
Like Romeo Doubs might get the biggest jump from all of this is on the Packers themselves.
I still think if there's a chance that Cade Otton isn't rostered in your league, pick him up.
Yeah. There's also Isaiah Likely, which didn't really pan out this week, but if you're looking at nasty things, right? If you're looking at real in the muck, Isaiah Likely hasn't had time with Lamar until this last week. And of course we had Mark Andrews. He went wild, but he only had a very few catches. They were just both touchdowns.
Well, and then the other tight end that isn't Isaiah Likely also got a touchdown. So
and Mason Taylor, if he was dropped because of reasons, Mason Taylor is going to get more work, probably due to their defense getting worse, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So let's see. So Cole Kmet, Chicago Bears tight end, got a concussion. He was ruled out against Cincinnati. That's the game they played. This next week, he has started Wednesday with a limited practice, which is, I think, about exactly where you want to be with a concussion. There's no guarantee, but it's something. I skipped ahead. I should go back to Matthew Golden, who got a shoulder injury on the Packers also against Carolina. The Packers who lost to the Panthers. The Panthers and the Falcons. What do you do with these guys?
I don't know.
Who are they?
I don't know, and it's funny because the worse Bryce plays, the better the Panthers do, and the better Bryce plays, the worse the Panthers do. And I mean, some of that could be garbage time, like they're playing catch up, so he gets lucky with maybe he gets in a groove. But like his stat line this game was awful. I think he put up two fantasy points or something like unbelievably low like that, but they still won. Yeah, he went 11 of 20 for 102 yards and an interception. Yikes.
It's nuts. Yeah, it does. Rico Dowdle is either because that could be the answers when Rico is popping off. Bryce isn't doing much, and then they win. But I don't know.
I feel like Rico Dowdle and Bryce Young are the poor man's Jonathan Taylor and Daniel Jones.
I like that. We'll talk about them too, I'm sure, during this episode because I do want to bring it up. Samaje Perine was ruled out against Chicago from the Bengals. That would matter more. The Bengals are on bye this week. Yeah. It does sound like Perine has a high ankle sprain though, which means he's going to likely miss multiple weeks even after the bye. And if you have Chase Brown, that's good news. I don't think you're picking up Chase Brown, but I own Chase Brown in places, and that makes me more confident. Of course, I was starting him because how do you sit a second round pick when this league doesn't have many running backs? But
I think Perine also maybe vultured some touchdowns at least once or twice from Chase Brown, so that there's something there. Because Taj Brooks is not getting any looks.
No, and unfortunately, Perine did look pretty good with the looks he got. So this is helpful because it really does give it back to Chase Brown.
Yeah.
Which we'll see. Chase Brown, this is my only worry is that Chase Brown had a very on the spot moment in this last interview after this last game in the interview where he talks about the way the defense gave away the game. He's like, we did our job. We scored 42 points. We at the end when we needed a drive, we went and got the drive.
Yeah.
and we iced the game out with 20-something seconds left. And then you guys gave a gigantic touchdown away to a tight end. And he didn't say that. He had some words that I won't say on this show. You can look it up. They are cursing, and they were very blunt. And I'm, knowing Zach Taylor, that should be a moment where they like come together as a defense and be like, okay, we really got to stop letting these guys down. But Zach Taylor,
Knowing Zach Taylor, yeah.
I am so worried that he might get some sort of repercussions for it, and you might see Taj Brooks get that opening carry next, not this week, but next week.
It's possible. Yeah. I mean, of any team that I forgot about Chase Brown talking about that. And I think that, it wasn't just Chase Brown's feelings. I feel like he spoke on behalf of Jamar and everybody. Chase Brown was just like, he was the spokesperson, but like you could tell everyone on that offense was disappointed.
I think he talked specifically about like Joe Flacco went out there and put his body
Yeah.
on the line and like had a game of any game ever, and we
Most
still
yards
lost.
per game ever, which is crazy. I do feel better with the Bears though. The Bears have completely depleted secondary. Corner 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all out. So, that's okay. It's not great. Defense isn't great, but like there's a reason why there was a lot of explosive plays on the Bears end. The Bengals, I don't know.
The Bengals are the Bengals, man. The Panthers lost a guard, Chandler Zavala. He got an elbow injury, so their offensive line gets a little worse. The Detroit Lions lost their left tackle, Taylor Decker, to a knee injury. And also
the tackle, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's kind of significant. He's a pretty is he left tackle?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
I am trying to find what the injury full details are right this second, because you don't like losing your left tackle.
No, and I mean he's the opposite side of Penei Sewell. So Penei obviously has Jared Goff's like predominant side, but like Jared Goff needs his blind side because he's not mobile.
So he left the game, but he returned, and now he's missed Wednesday practice. So
what kind of injury is it?
A knee injury and a shoulder injury. So
okay,
they're not being very specific on what the knee injury is. I'm guessing it's probably not super serious, but Christian Mahogany, also of the Detroit Lions, he got hurt as well. Also a vague knee injury. So we'll see. He was a 6th-round draft pick last year.
Boston College.
So
that's how my sicko brain works. I remember all this.
I mean, hey, it's helpful in certain places. The Texans had their quarterback CJ Stroud suffer a concussion that looked pretty gnarly, and then
I thought he was going to get decapitated. That was awful.
I couldn't tell if he was in pain or if he was fencing at first. It's crazy how the fencing looks a little bit different in everybody, because at first I thought I saw his head move, and then he did the thing with his fingers, and you're like, oh, he's out. He's out. So CJ Stroud, he will, I'm sure, miss a game or maybe even 2 if the league is if the league's smart, they'll make him miss 2 games. And Davis Mills came in. We've seen Mills a lot of times. He's not a great quarterback, but he has spurts.
He does. He was good that one year. It might have been his rookie year, the year that Deshaun Watson sat out. I want to say it was like 21. He looked like one of the better like 2021 class quarterbacks. Like that was the year that like Eli was disappointing, Justin Fields was disappointing, and I remember Davis Mills. I believe it was that year started a stretch of games, and we're like, is Davis Mills the best QB? And him and Mac Jones, are they the best QBs?
Yeah. Davis Mills is that guy who he can put it together, but like over time, it just doesn't work out. One thing that is good for any Texans players is that he did throw the ball to Nico quite a bit.
He did,
Nico got peppered with targets immediately after Davis Mills came back in. So, you might like this as a Texans player owner. I don't think it impacts Woody Marks or Chubb or the running backs, but Nico, I think that's a nice little benefit. And maybe even Dalton Schultz, because Schultz has been there forever too now.
He led in yards. Him and Nico basically had an identical stat line, it looks like, and they were the 2 that were heavily featured in the receiving game. It was them. It was, there was other guys in there, but like it was mostly them.
That makes sense. So, Of course, we know about Travis Hunter. This didn't happen during the game, but he's on IR for a knee injury that he picked up during his bye week. He got fired on his day off, sort of situation.
That was I think that was announced like right after our episode dropped, where I was getting excited about starting him.
I was really hoping for Travis Hunter to stay on my team and do something very useful, and he didn't. And that's not it's not his fault. Injuries happen, but still doesn't feel good.
Do you think he's droppable?
I dropped him.
Yes.
Mostly because I don't know the extent of it. When I dropped him, it sounded like it was an ACL injury. It's not an ACL injury. It sounds like he could be back after the IR stint. But
It's
he only had the 1 week where he really put up the numbers you wanted to see, and it sounded like he was headed that way. But of course, the play that he got injured on, he was in practice
yeah.
guarding a wide receiver. He wasn't
Was
as a wide receiver. He was playing his cornerback role. So you are seeing this happen in real time now that this cornerback thing has really messed up his season as far as fantasy goes. He has been good as a cornerback. Don't get me wrong. I like the picks made more sense because he's, been what looks like their cornerback 1 and wide receiver 1 in the last game.
yeah.
But if he can't stay healthy and he keeps getting his little injuries, it's gonna be a headache.
Good for them though for shutting it down early. Especially in
Mhm.
the season where they're borderline playoff contenders, but like
Mhm.
not looking great offensively. And like I think if they had forced him out there like after 2 weeks, if this vague knee injury again is like significant, like good for them for shutting it down and like not taking that risk. That's good.
Yeah, 100%. I do agree. And with how much draft capital they put into Travis Hunter, they have to make sure that he stays okay.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas Jr. got hurt. He hurt his ankle. It doesn't sound like it's a significant ankle sprain, low ankle sprain. They immediately traded. No, we'll talk about the trades. We'll talk about the trades. I'll hold on. That opens up the floodgates for Parker Washington. I do believe. Is
Also got
that the wrong?
injured. Did he get injured?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
thinking of Parker Washington.
yeah. Parker Washington. Prior to trades that may have happened, looks like he's going to get a lot of work, and he was getting a lot of work even when Brian Thomas Jr. was in. So Brian Thomas Jr. is interesting, but I think that the team is kind of upset with him, and I'll talk about what they've said a little bit when we get to trades.
I think Brenton Strange might come back at some point soon.
That will hurt Parker Washington because I think Parker's playing in the slot, and Brenton Strange as a tight end is going to sit in that middle of the field, and Lawrence clearly likes Brenton Strange.
Yeah.
For the Kansas City Chiefs, their offensive tackle Jawan Taylor hurt his ankle, didn't come back against the Bills. This is significant in the run game with Brashard Smith and Kareem Hunt, but I don't think it impacts many of the other players that you may play because Patrick Mahomes is really good at escaping pressure either which way.
Yeah, he is, and I think that Josh Simmons, who was the rookie right tackle, right tackle, who was out with personal reasons, is back. So it's not great. They're still down a starting tackle potentially, but at least it's not both. They're not the Chargers.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Because immediately afterwards, I was gonna say the Chargers, Joe Alt. I wish I could play some sad music right now or something because Joe Alt is now out for the season. And Bobby Hart, he hurt his groin.
Is he another backup O lineman on the Chargers?
Yep. Sure enough, he's an offensive tackle. So they lost their left tackle and they lost a backup tackle. So it's okay. So we'll talk about more of our players soon. But like when this one stinks because I think that their offensive line is very important to the run game, and that sounds really basic, but we've seen this happen with them a few different times where when they lose offensive linemen, the running game falls apart. And then when they gain him back, it opens up.
Yeah. And Justin looks much better too.
Mm-hmm. So losing Joe Alt for the whole entire season, that kind of caps their at the very least their run game ceiling in my mind. So this is where your Kamani Vidal, even Omarion Hampton when he comes back, you might want to temper expectations on what you're getting.
Yeah.
Los Angeles Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua hurt his ribs. It sounds like he should be back this week. The X-rays were negative. They didn't bring him back in the game because they didn't need him.
He like left in like the beginning of the first half and then returned, right?
I think he like returned for one, but they didn't need him against the Saints. The Saints couldn't score against the Rams defense. I think they got like a garbage time touchdown, or maybe it was an early touchdown. I can't remember.
Uh,
Juwan Johnson. There we go.
John,
Not Jameson. I was like gonna say Jameson. I'm like, that's wrong. That's wrong. Don't say it. Oh, he scored a touchdown on him, but other than that, the Saints couldn't get anything going. So I think they just let Puka sit out.
Tyler Shuck really didn't move the needle at all. He looked just like Spencer Rattler. Yeah.
Well, they're really missing a run game, and Kamara is not it, or at least not the way they're using Kamara. If Kamara hadn't come out and said the things about getting traded, I actually feel like he would have got traded because he doesn't seem to fit the scheme that Kellen Moore is thinking of at all.
At all. And I almost regret putting him in my controversial sits last week because it's not controversial to sit him at this point. It just isn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know that you can, you'd want to move on to Devin Neal, but they're still going to play Kamara because of what they paid him and who he is. Unfortunately, he's just not the guy they need for this team. Let's move on. The Vikings, Aaron Jones hurt his shoulder, didn't come back against Detroit. So Aaron Jones got like what, a whole game, not even a full game out of him. You got one full game out of him and 2 quarters.
Yeah, like a full game last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He left kind of early in this game, I think.
Pretty early, yeah. And if they were going against Detroit, and what ended up being it was a good game. And it's unfortunate because Aaron Jones seems to be the more productive back of the two between Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason as far as fantasy football goes right now.
In terms of explosive plays, it seems like that's the case.
Yeah, well, the Vikings are an interesting team altogether, right? This second. Pretty hard to get a hold on. But Aaron Jones, it didn't look like it was a serious. It is an AC joint sprain, considered minor.
At least that's good, better for a running back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we'll see. With Aaron Jones, it's hard because he misses time for certain things.
Yeah.
The Patriots wide receiver Kayshon Boutte hurt his hamstring. Stinks because he looked like he was close to breaking out.
He was starting to get more consistent on a game by game basis. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now, of course, you got Demario Douglas, who then immediately looked just like Boutte and was scoring touchdowns. It's a testament, I think, right now to Drake May and that offensive line on how well they're doing. I will be happy right here for a second because Drake May was one of my early Doinkers.
Yeah.
And it's just playing out exactly how you think it would. They got an offensive line that looks really good, and it's paying off dividends.
It's almost hard to say, is the offensive line really that good, or just is Drake May is he O-line proof? Because I know Will Campbell, in terms of like his pressure rate and his sack rate, is like looking elite. And there was a big concern of him because his arms are short coming into the league out of LSU. He's looked incredible. I mean, Morgan Moses is old, but I think that he's been graded really well, looked good. And I don't know much about their interior O-line. The run game hasn't looked great, but I do wonder, is it like, I mean, maybe Drake May is O-line proof, just to how he plays. It seems like it. So it's kind of hard to gauge how good their O-line is. But it looks a lot better than last year.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B, right? It's hard because you watch the team like the Bengals when they had whoever that backup quarterback is. I'm spacing on his name right now. It's not important. And then they get Joe Flacco, and immediately the O-line looks significantly better.
Yeah, that's
it's the same players, but it's just a quarterback that understands how to maybe, who knows, coach them, tell them what to do, even just knows how to maneuver around them. Makes the offensive line look much better.
And I mean, Drake May has not only improved in his sack avoidance from last year, he's just improved in everything.
And again, for me, this wasn't hard to see just because he already was producing numbers.
Yeah.
And the team only managed to get better around him.
Yeah.
The Giants center, John Michael Schmitz, hurt his shin, got ruled out against San Francisco. Centers leaving the game isn't beneficial for almost anyone.
No.
Interior pressure is probably the most dangerous thing against passing quarterbacks, pocket quarterbacks. With Jackson Dart, I'm a little less worried because he is so shifty. He moves around a ton.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's a great passer though too. He's looked
Mhm.
really good. He's looked really good.
It's actually shocking how good he's looked for me. On a team that lost all its pieces.
Yeah.
Oh, just imagine Neighbors.
Imagine, yeah, Neighbors and Scatabo. I mean, something to look forward to for next year. It really is.
Yep. Okay, so the Pittsburgh Steelers lost a guard, Isaac Simulo. Shumalo. Either which way.
Was he? Oh no, I'm thinking of Troy Fontenot, their tackle. No,
Yeah, no,
he's
Washington Commanders. This is another one. Everyone. Jaden Daniels. I don't know exactly what the diagnosis was, but he hurt his left arm. He left in an air cast.
It was. There was marked not safe for work on Reddit, and I clicked on it, and I watched it, and then I was with my girlfriend and their dad, and dad's reaction was just like, "Oh my god!" Like it was so bad. It looked like it was just gonna like come alive and like leave his body. Yeah, it was bad, and it's very fortunate that it wasn't his throwing arm, his dominant arm, but yeah.
Yeah, it stinks. I'm not okay. So people are like, hey, so everyone got mad at Dan Quinn afterwards for keeping him in a game that's a blowout. It for me that wasn't that crazy. Jaden Daniels had missed a lot of time. He needed reps to get into the game rhythm. I think this was just one of those unfortunate things. However, leave it to the Washington team to draft a quarterback that looks like he's going to be a star, and then to have the next year just be significant injury after significant injury after significant injury.
Yeah.
It is so good that it is not his throwing arm, because otherwise this would look like a career complete derailer.
It is also RG3 was playing the Seahawks, I believe, when he got that that really awful injury in the wild card. At first I was like, I was on kind of in like the hive mind of like blaming Dan Quinn, but like you really think about it, like it wasn't like the end of the game. It was the fourth quarter, so it was late. But if you pull your star quarterback, even if you're down two and a half scores, like that shows that you're giving up. And like
Yeah.
we got ridiculed for that too. So I don't think it's, if it was like garbage time and they were down by 3 scores, then that's one thing. But you got to, is Jaden Daniels is so talented that you got to at least give the team a chance before completely giving up. So
100%.
yeah.
It's wild to me because it's like you can't pull him that early, and the game was pretty much over by halftime. They didn't get Sam Darnold to miss one pass.
That was crazy.
He had a perfect half. I think it was 16 for 16.
Yeah.
So, you can't look at this and go like, okay, so do you just stop playing at the second half? Of course not, because at that point you can still come in, but the game was already out of hand.
Yeah.
So when are you going to pull him? And he needs reps. He hasn't been there. Of course, yeah, Mr. Sprinkles says the RG3 effect. And same down and distance too.
That's crazy. I think I read that. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's just unfortunate.
It is. That tail team is cursed. That just team is cursed.
It stinks because Jaden Daniels, man, he just hasn't been there this season. This is that team that it ascended, and now we're gonna have to see next year if it can keep it up, because I don't see anything happening this year that's gonna be super positive. They can't keep Mariota and like hope to make the playoffs, especially not their current record.
I want to have faith in Mariota as an Oregon fan, but he's just a solid backup at this point that can't sustain a season. And the Commanders feel like the most 8-9 team ever. That's really just the definition of mediocre.
I think that they would be ecstatic to make 8-9 if they end up missing Jaden Daniels and Terry for most of the year, for the significant portion of the year.
Honestly, shout out Terry though for pulling a Brandon Ayuk and getting the bag and then just leaving. That's
yeah. This shows why these players need to do it too, because like what if this year had happened and then he was going to get paid next year? That would be an awful payday, because they'd be like, hey, here's a 1-year prove it deal, make sure you still got it, and now he's got the bag. And he can come back and prove that he has it on his own time. And for fantasy, I know that's not necessarily great because everyone's gonna have to make this decision on Terry next year, unless he goes thermonuclear and comes back near the end of the year. But for the person, good for you, Terry.
Yeah.
And we talked about this before it started. Monday night games, I don't have the injury notes from. Was there any significant injuries in Monday night? I don't believe so on the offensive
Uh,
side.
yeah, just I mean, the Kyler injury, he obviously didn't play. I feel like the soul of Dallas was injured for
Yeah,
the most part.
yeah. This game against this 1-win team, they come in and they just get smoked.
I wanted to add that Sam Darnold was my Colston Loveland last week for me. I spot started him because I didn't want to start Bo Nix against the Texans, and I thought my app was glitching because I was looking before halftime and he'd gotten 4 touchdowns, and I was like, what? I got to update the app. Like, what is
Oh
going?
man, he just
28 points.
dominated,
And he does
dominated.
all passing. He didn't rush much at all. I don't think if at all. Just crazy. You don't see that very often. I guess you see it against the Commanders though.
The Commanders defense is one that you're going to want to start targeting just in general because
Yeah.
they're not playing well at all right now. And I mean, they haven't gone against bad teams, so maybe it's just their strength of schedule is nasty. But I mean, Sam Darnold was perfect,
Actually,
perfect.
like by definition, perfect. Yeah.
Um, that you just can't let that happen. There's no way. You got to figure out a way to get one incompletion before the end of the half. I mean, that's just embarrassing. So let's move on to the trade deadline and ramifications. There were quite a few trades that were made, but not many that were offensive sided. So you'll see like maybe some defensive compositions change, and there's a chance that we see some changes in the defense that happen, and we'll talk a little bit about those, especially on a few teams that we're going to talk about here. But let's talk about the offensive changes first, because that's fun. The Chargers acquired offensive lineman Trevor Penning from the Saints. They traded a 6th-round pick. Do you think Penning is going to be able to move the needle or make up for Joe Alt being lost at all?
I mean, he's got to be better than Bob Hart or whatever that guy's name was. Like Penny is a 1st-round pick. He's looked pretty terrible in New Orleans, but he had I think a stretch of games last year where he was playing guard, where he looked better. But again, even if they traded for an Evan Neal from the Giants, at least they needed to do something. And the 6th-round pick is nothing in the scheme of things, so it's not going to help. It's not going to save the Chargers season. Sorry, Nathan, but I think that at least it gives them the possibility to make the playoffs. If they're going to invest in the offensive line and there's some hope there. Again, I'm not saying Trevor Penning single-handedly is going to let them make the playoffs, but they needed to make some kind of move because I think their O-line has been completely decimated.
Every week it's someone new who gets hurt. I think that you like to see them making this move because it shows that they do believe that they have all the opportunity still in front of them. And they do. I think that their record is good enough right now that they just shouldn't be super worried about it. Of course, they're in the AFC West, which is just it's disgusting. But they're above the Chiefs still. So they're 6-3, Chiefs 5-4. Broncos are leading right now at 7-2. But the wild cards, I think they're pretty open still. Like you're looking at one of the AFC East teams.
Yeah.
Potentially one of the AFC South teams, but if there's a team I think could fall apart, it's the Jaguars for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
I feel like the Chargers are going to go at least 10-7. My worry is just that we're going to, and maybe no fault of Herbert this time, we're just going to see the Chargers not have a chance in the playoffs. They're going to make it, but they're not going to have a chance. How it looks right now, we'll see.
If it is Herbert again, what do the Chargers do about Herbert?
Run it back next year with a healthy Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. Let's see it.
Yeah. They have to keep Herbert. He's too good. But I mean, if he comes out and he had another 4-interception game in the playoffs, can you imagine? I'm a Raiders fan, so again, this is like me just daydreaming about the other teams in my division looking as bad as we do. Move on. Seattle.
South. There we
go. So as Seattle lost Cooper Kupp, I don't know how long that injury is for, but it seemed to be potentially lengthy because they went and acquired Rashid Shaheed from also the Saints. So they gave a 4th and a 5th-round pick, which is more significant than a 6th-round pick, especially for 2 of them. I think that means that they do see a role here for Shaheed, and it's not just a talent gathering. Shaheed is a fast dude who has. I don't think it's fair to just call him a downfield threat anymore because he seems to have evolved a little bit, and he seems to be more of a wide receiver 2 archetype or just an outside secondary threat.
We saw some games last year where when Chris Olave was out with the concussions, Shaheed took over as the wide receiver one, and it wasn't like he's a perfect wide receiver one. Like he's not going to be that, but like he can be more than just that down the field threat. He's going to be more dynamic than we've seen him in Seattle, particularly because he looked better last year, and that's when he had Clint Kubiak, who's the OC in Seattle now. So I'm sure Clint was like a big proponent of going and trading for him. Makes sense. Seattle going quasi all in, makes sense when their offense looks this good. And I like the trade a lot for the Saints because I believe Shaheed's on an expiring contract, and they need to blow at least part of their team up. So that's good. That's good value. I think two early day 3 picks is good.
Yeah. I didn't even actually really consider the Clint Kubiak connection, which is silly, but yeah, that's wonderful because then this might be a system he can come in and just immediately be a contributor to as well.
Yeah.
And man, both that offense and that defense are clicking right now. Like that is just it looks like such a well-coached team. Like Mike McDonald, I didn't know really what to expect fully. But I'm, good for you. This is a great looking team right now.
It reminds me, I mean, it's 1-to-1 because Sam Darnold, but like it really looks like the Vikings last year. You have an incredible wide receiver one, JJ and JSN. You have an incredible defense, Brian Flores and Mike McDonald. You got Sam Darnold playing great. You have unexpected coming out of the division. They were expected to finish last, and they're finished. It's like it's a very similar to last year's Vikings, and I hope for Sam Darnold that he does better in the playoffs because I like the Seahawks and I want to see them. I would love to see them win a playoff game.
At this point, I think it would have to take like a very catastrophic breakdown of this team for Sam Darnold not to be a Seahawk next year.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he's got the 3-year contract. He's got the Baker Mayfield deal, which is like 3 years, low risk, high reward. So I think he's definitely going to be there next year. I just don't want to see it crumble at the end of the season and then just nothing.
Yep. No, 100%. I think this means things for Jalen Milroe's career, but whatever. This is the way it goes for quarterbacks. If he shines out somewhere, he'll get traded for it at some point.
Oh, here's something I may just made a connection. Again, this isn't 1-to-1, and also because Clint Kubiak was only in New Orleans last year, but like maybe he'll use Jalen Milroe as Taysom Hill.
Gosh, man.
That'd be cool.
I mean, Jalen Milroe is a great runner, so he could, in theory. But man, do we not need more Taysom Hills in this league? I tell you, unless Jalen can, get the secondary wide receiver tag or something.
Yeah,
I don't think you can get a tight end tag, but if you could get a wide receiver tag, it could be useful.
Good, yeah.
Okay, so Jacksonville acquired wide receiver Jacoby Myers from the Raiders for 4th and 6th. A little bit less than Shaheed went for. My favorite thing was that the GM of the Jaguars, he said that Jacoby Myers had a superpower for not dropping the ball. And
right at Brian Thomas when he said that.
Staring directly at him. Yeah. It was hilarious to me. And as a Raiders fan, of course, like this needed to happen. There was no reason to keep Jacoby unless the compensation was too low.
Yeah.
Because the Raiders aren't competing. Who cares who leaves and comes from this team? With the Jags, it's interesting for me because do you see Jacoby come in to this team and immediately move the needle in a significant way? Because I think this is making the assumption that the wide receiver room is more at fault for the passing game woes than Trevor Lawrence, or at least making Trevor prove that that's the case.
Yeah, okay, I like that. Maybe making it prove because, like, again, if they didn't have Jacoby Myers, they could use the scapegoat of like, well, Travis is on IR, maybe Brian Thomas misses some games. So I think that's a good way to look at it. Like Trevor, like you have your sticky hands receiver now. Like, let's give this a shot. I mean, he just looks so disappointing.
It's seriously, and the thing with Trevor right now is like every single play where there's something that happens, he is always blaming the wide receiver. He has that Derek Carr of last year energy where he's just immediately looking. And with Brian Thomas, we've seen drops. So
I mean that specifically could be correct.
But I also see him when he overthrows someone or when he's like throws to a wrong spot. Like let's say Diami Brown going down the sidelines against the Raiders, and he just misses him, and he starts yelling at Diami Brown. It's like, buddy.
Yeah.
As the quarterback, sometimes you just got to take it on the chin and move on to the next one, dude. Like, stop yelling at these guys. You haven't looked good enough to yell at these guys.
I don't remember if it was you or maybe I just was watching a video, but someone mentioned that like Trevor Lawrence isn't disappointing as a player. He lived up to who he was expected to be in college. He just didn't get any better. Like he's in high school. Like he looked great at the end of high school going to college, and he just has stayed the same. He hasn't gotten any better. He hasn't gotten worse relative to where he was in high school. He just hasn't developed.
Yeah, I it wasn't me who said that, but I think that's pretty apt.
Yes.
He just had, I think it was his 27th birthday, and he looks like the same player he's been the whole entire time he's been in the league, and that's
Yep.
just not good enough at this point. Like, well, and what am I to say? Actually, I say it's not good enough. I don't think it's good enough as far as ultimate team success, but they're 5-3 right now, so it's not like
Yes.
he's been terrible.
It's yeah. He's been like he has the capability to be in the league for a while.
He 100%. I'm okay. I'm gonna do it again, guys. I'm so sorry. He 100% looks like he could be their version of Derek Carr.
It is a good comparison, honestly.
Mhm. He's just good enough to hang around. He'll win games. It's not all bad. It really isn't,
Mhm.
especially for a franchise that hasn't had quarterback success sustained for a long time. But it's also not all good. So that's really it for the offensive trades. There wasn't a ton.
No.
AD Mitchell did go to the Jets. I should point that out. John Mechie did go to the Jets as well. So the Jets did acquire two kind of non-needle moving wide receivers in a room that desperately needed some wide receivers.
Yeah. It's good. They needed something, you know.
And the Colts needed to get rid of AD Mitchell. That's what that tells me.
It's so funny too that like okay, I mean the Colts would have very well could have been like 8-0. I forget if they've had a bye. I don't know, but they could have been like up until the Steelers game, they could have like not lost a game if AD Mitchell hadn't fumbled. So their punishment is like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
we're so upset about this. You're getting sent to the Jets.
No, it was hilarious because they've immediately replaced him. They got Alec Pierce back, and they're like, "Okay, see you, dude. We're done with you. It's
But
over."
and it's fair. Like he hasn't looked great at all, but he just wasn't fitting with Daniel Jones. There was no chemistry. He wasn't great last year. It's
For whatever reason, he feels like a good fit on the Jets to me. It's like when you had Robbie Anderson on the Jets, and it actually worked out for some reason.
Rosen Anderson.
Yeah, I know. I know. You're right. I shouldn't. But when he was on the Jets, he was Robbie. So
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah.
I'm gonna give my boomer explanation of all this right now. But it reminds me of that, like he's a guy who might make some boneheaded decisions, but he can get down the field and stretch it, and the Jets seem to know how to do that. And it's been a million different regimes since then, and a million different players. But at the same point, this feels like a Jets player.
Going into the draft last year, it was all they're both from Texas, but it was all AD Mitchell was going to be the first rounder, and Xavier Worthy was like this late guy who came on as a possible first rounder, and then that narrative just completely flipped after the combine with Worthy's speed. But AD Mitchell was hyped up as a first round pick like for a minute there, and he went second round, so it's not like he was like he fell very far, but like he was seen as one of the best receivers in the class that included Rowe, Marvin Harrison, and all that. So
it just kind of like never worked out, and then we saw poor quarterback play. This year, it's not really poor quarterback play, but you also have the other wide receivers are looking very competent and good. And AD Mitchell, look, if he didn't fumble that ball, there is a world in which he has an actual role on this team right now. You see what Alec Pierce is doing.
Yeah.
And it's not exactly like super fantasy relevant because I don't think you can count on it every week, but it is a role that's important for that team.
I predict Alec Pierce is going to get paid pretty well this offseason.
Yeah. We'll talk more about Alec Pierce too. So, there's a lot of defensive changes. I think let's just go ahead and start with the big one here. Let's talk about the Dallas acquisitions. So that's not the big one. I buried the lead a little bit here, but we'll start with the Dallas acquisitions because this changes the team in a way that I don't know that is for fantasy we want it changed. Dallas went and got Quinnen Williams from the Jets. They gave up a second, a first, and one of their defensive linemen. And they went and got Logan Wilson from the Bengals. They only traded a 7th round pick for Logan Wilson, and it's a Bengals defensive player. So where does that lead you?
Yeah.
But Quinn and Williams, this is their attempt to make up for losing Micah Parsons. And clearly, they've not actually having a plan. Jerry, just trade him away and just completely gutted their defense on accident. And now they're like, okay, let's go get Quinn and Williams. He's available. He's not the same as Micah.
No, he's not. Just positionally, he's not. He's a DP.
It's different. It's different. But you throw some weight on there. And Quinn Williams is a good player. So I think
Yeah.
this does make their defense better. I think now maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think this will make their run defense
He's
a lot better.
He's a very good run defender. I mean, if they had Micah and Quentin Williams and like DeRon Bland healthy and Trevon, like they could have had a great defense this year for sure. The pieces are there. I think I read this comment that put it into a different context, and I was like, okay, maybe that makes sense a little bit better. I was like really hard on the Cowboys, but you think about it, and I'm gonna get this wrong, but like they basically gave up Micah Parsons for Quentin Williams and a first and second round pick or something like that. Somehow like the trade value worked like that. Maybe it was like Micah Parsons for Quentin Williams in a first, which isn't bad if you look at it that way. Like, I mean, it's not great, but like basically what the Cowboys got for the Micah trade and what they traded away, like it looks better. But
it's not just losing your generationally good player. I get it, and this is a more surefire way to use these picks than drafting.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, again, sorry, this is just Raiders specific. I just know Raiders things. When we traded away Khalil Mack, what did we get out of it? We got Josh Jacobs and a bunch of garbage. No offense to the people. I don't know them as people, but the players weren't very good.
Yeah. I mean, those picks could have been anything, including Khalil Mack.
Oh my gosh, like one of the best in the game, and instead they turned into Arnett, a quarterback who pulled a gun on the live stream and got cut. So, this makes sense. You got a player that you actually know who will contribute and is in a need position, and you still have a couple picks. So,
yeah, it just would have been better if they had done it before they lost to the Cardinals, but whatever.
Now that things are getting bad, they're like, okay, well, let's figure this out.
Yeah.
Philadelphia, the Eagles have acquired a few different defensive pieces. So they got the defensive end Jalen Phillips from the Dolphins. They sent a third-round pick for him. They acquired Jair Alexander and a seventh-round pick for a sixth-round pick to Baltimore. Jair, having been formerly elite on the Packers, comes from Baltimore, where I don't think that
not done anything this year. He's been a healthy scratch in some games, I think.
He's pretty washed at this point, but sometimes you need quarterback help. And they also got Michael Carter, and this isn't to be confused with Michael Carter the third. This is Michael Carter, the cornerback, and a seventh-round pick, and that was for the John Mechie sixth-round pick to the Jets. They made this trade.
Right.
So, Philadelphia is trying to load up on defense again. I think they understand that that's a big portion of how they won last year is the ability to defend and then not have to pass.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been playing out that way recently, so they're trying to reload up.
Jalen Phillips is good. He was a first rounder a few years ago, and he's been injured a lot. I think he's torn his ACL twice, but when he's good, he's really good. And if he's healthy, like this is a win-win. I think third round for a player that's leaving next year on Miami, it's a good win-win trade.
Yeah, agreed. And for what it's worth, the GM of the Eagles really does seem to know his defensive linemen because they seem to draft really well on the defensive line. So trading for a defensive lineman tells me a lot of good things about Jalen Phillips too. Yeah. I'm willing to believe him right now because they've just had hit after hit after hit after hit. Okay, so let's check this out. The Bengals traded for Draymond Jones to the Titans for a fifth-round pick. He's a defensive end.
The Bengals, the Ravens. I thought it was
Ravens.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, they're not done for the season. They still believe that they have the chance to run the tables. When watching the game on Thursday, I believe it was, and them showing that the Bengals had the highest percentage chance to win the AFC North at the time, it was 2-5.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That changed pretty quickly this week, but like, yeah.
It's so funny where they really just no faith in the Steelers. As
That's
a DK Metcalf owner, like, you shouldn't have faith in the Steelers.
and the Steelers look better on offense than they have in a while. It's just the defense. I mean, this past week against the Colts, they looked pretty good. But yeah, it's the Steelers just don't look elite enough. But also, yeah, just to pivot real quick, like the Bengals having that hope going into Thursday night before the Ravens played, and then the Bears just sucking it all out of them. That was one of the best games I've ever seen. Not one I was enjoying in the moment, but it was, yeah, it's just
No, it was highly entertaining.
highly,
That the Colston Leveland pass was just one of the most insane things I've ever seen.
yeah.
Like, that was arguably more damaging to the team it happened to than the Hail Mary last year.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because that's why I was bringing this up. Like that was like the Bengals version of where the Bears were at last year, like
Mhm.
that. And
Mhm.
yeah, Bengals are going to go on a losing streak now.
It just felt like it deflated the Bengals, and they're out of it now.
Yeah,
Like, how does this team string together the wins they need to make the playoffs?
no,
You don't, you're gonna lose one or two because you can't with that defense keep the score under 45. Apparently, it's impossible to imagine that, but that's what seemed to be happening. So there's some other defensive trades. I'm gonna skip over a bunch of them because I don't think they move the needle in any significant way.
no.
I'm
There's
gonna
only
go
about
instead to
yeah,
Indianapolis, acquiring Sauce Gardner from the Jets for a first round pick, 2 first round picks, excuse me, and of course AD Mitchell, as we discussed earlier. So Sauce Gardner, probably, if not like the most well known elite cornerback right now, and I think he might be the most well known because his name is Sauce.
yeah. He's great. He's got a great media personality. He's like popular on TikTok. He's very he's well known
Mm-hmm.
and he's top 5.
And he's been fantastic. Yeah, he's top 5. He goes to the Colts, which really cements the fact that they want this to be the year. They see this opportunity and they're going to go all in. And good for them, because I think this immediately moves their their defense into a completely different zone.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Beforehand, it was like it seemed pretty good against the run, maybe not great, and mediocre against the pass. So the pass is where you want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
Once Sauce is playing, and I imagine it'll be pretty quick that they get him in there, the wide receiver one's going to be taken away from the other team.
Yeah, and we've seen that this season with Sauce. He's not had the best season of his career, but the way he plays, and I think the way he'll play in Indianapolis is that you covered a wide receiver one, and it's going to be Rashee Rice. I think when the Chiefs come back, that'll be interesting.
But yeah, because that's a weird one because the way the Chiefs move around players.
Yeah, that's true.
It will be interesting. Now, do you think that he comes in immediately this week and has a role?
No, because they're playing in Berlin. I mean, it's possible, but I don't see it. I think they've already flown over there they're playing on Sunday morning against the Falcons, and that would be great. I mean, him against Drake London would really make a significant change in that game. But I don't know. It's hard to say. What I like this move for the Colts too is not that they're just going all in because their secondary is bad, which it has been. Their secondary is bad primarily because they've had injuries, and they're going to get Travarius Ward back. I think Kenny Moore, it might come back. I don't think his season's done. So, like in a few weeks, like once Sauce is more acclimated and the other corners come back, like this could be like a legit incredible secondary. So,
So if you have Jonathan Taylor, I don't have to say anything after that, really. But if you have Jonathan Taylor and this defense gets better, it's just better for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
You don't really need it to get better for Jonathan Taylor, but it could, in theory, get better for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I think so. I think that Sauce is just one piece on the defense, but like he plays cornerbacks just play a significant, like can play a significant fantasy role in the fact that they are specifically guarding wide receiver ones. So I think in terms of defensive pieces, corners, especially like Sauce, make more of a difference than other defensive trades.
Yeah. I The only way I could see him immediately coming over is if they do something like, okay, you just cover this side of the field. Whoever's over here, that's your assignment. Keep it simple.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't necessarily love that. And going to Berlin, like you said, is tough to just. Can you imagine getting traded and immediately like, hey, get on the flight. You're going over to Berlin. Head over to
Brand
Germany.
brand new system.
Um. So again, there's other trades. I don't really need to bring them up. They're not super significant. So we'll just kind of move on here. And let's talk about our player picks. We'll start off with last week. I'm going to start off with last week because I think that you should go second with the cool amount of picks you had.
It was pretty.
So, for my nuclear boys, I had Amon Ra and Derrick Henry. They weren't like nuclear. I think Amon Ra did well. Derrick
Yeah,
Henry did okay. He did better in fantasy than he did in real life, in my opinion,
yeah,
because he
because he
had
had
over 100 points or he had over 100 yards, but he didn't look very good. He wasn't converting things that you would hope he would convert.
the game script just went in his favor because the Ravens were so dominant of the
Mm-hmm,
Dolphins.
mm-hmm. And so he still had 13.1 points in PPR, and that's not bad. But
Yeah,
I don't necessarily count it as a hit. I call it a miss, but it's not one that really hurts you too much.
yeah,
Um, I'll just go through my guys, and then I'll let you go through your guys. Sound good?
yeah.
Okay. My gas guys, I had Kamani Vidal. That was bad. He only scored 3 points in PPR. I think losing Joe Alt early on, and then whatever happened that made them get into a really actually competitive game against the Titans.
That was weird. Yeah, and Jeffrey Simmons, I think, was out.
Mm-hmm. It was just a strange game. They lost their offensive lineman, their left tackle, that is, and they were just passing all the time because they were down. So that one just didn't work out. But then I had Kyron Williams, 17.4. That was a hit.
Mm-hmm.
And then Drake London, which was
Super good.
gigantic.
Yeah.
38.8. 3 touchdowns, just completely dominated that game.
Who were the Falcons playing again?
The Patriots.
Oh, right. Which is that's
Yeah.
It's
So
just great. Matchup proof.
yeah, 100%. It
Yeah.
didn't matter what was going on. 3 touchdowns, like amazing game. So if you had Drake London, of course you're probably playing him, but you enjoyed it too.
That was the reason that I was so high on Drake London, is because I would believe that he was going to get so much volume that was not going to change. And I think the amount of volume he's gotten has surprised even me.
Yeah, it's wild to me because you would think that someone would stand out as a wide receiver too here. Maybe not like as an amazing player, but as a wide receiver too. But Mooney hasn't at all. Kyle Pitts has had kind of like moments, but not really in a significant way.
No, yeah.
So it's weird, My gut checks. First one, Colson Loveland. I'm counting that as a full win. This land is my land. This land is your land. From the Redwood Forest to the Colston Loveland. Again, I had him in my lineup and I lost, man. It felt so bad because I was like, it was just such a shot in the dark and it worked. But once again, the real proof here isn't even really Colston Loveland. It is just that the Bengals can't figure out how to guard tight ends, and they never will. So whenever you need a spot start and there's a tight end that's going against the Bengals, throw them in there.
Oh, here's a great one. I guess they already played the Steelers, but like the next Bengals game is against the Steelers. And remember that game? There was 3 tight ends that caught touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then we got the Bengals against the Patriots. So fire up Hunter Henry. Yeah, that's fun.
You can just plan it out that way. Like if you can pick up these tight ends the week before, do it because they will score. They don't understand how to stop them. I mean, when you look at Colson Loveland's last touchdown, they put a safety on him that can't tackle him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a safety, but it was someone who could not tackle him. He's just not big enough. And then I had Christian Watson. That was a 7.8. I'm going to count that as a miss. That stinks. He didn't look terrible, but it just wasn't enough volume.
The Packers were just terrible.
My sits, J.K. Dobbins, that was a hit. You shouldn't have played him. If you did play him, you weren't very happy with the score. It was a 6.9. And then Keenan Allen had a 6.1. That was a good sit if you did sit him. Keenan Allen again is either being saved or is in this weird part of the season where they're resting him or something because he's not on the field as much. He's not getting as much volume, and it doesn't seem to matter.
I think they're saving him for playoffs.
That's the way I feel too. Like they don't want him to get hurt because they know where he is, and they're like, okay, let's bring out again. We've seen more Trey Harris. We've
Seen
seen a little bit less Quinton.
a lot more or guys Gadsden.
Gadsden has looked amazing. I mean, just he's looked amazing. And we'll talk about that. Go ahead and talk about you guys last week.
Yeah, so my nuclear boy, and this was kind of a cheat because I feel like there's not been a game I don't think he's had a single bad game. Is JSN. Again, looked great against the Commanders. Wasn't even like that nuclear. It was just the Seahawks offense was spreading it around a lot, but he went off. Josh Jacobs, I think he had like 20 points, and that's good as a nuclear boy because the rest of the Packers offense was really bad. So he started Josh Jacobs. He got the job done. All three of my gas guys were mega hits. Less so Trey McBride, but he still had a touchdown. He looked great. Brock Bowers was a nuclear. He was unbelievably good. Like that was the performance by a tight end that, like, when you think of like, maybe it's not exactly in fantasy, but like when you think of prime Travis Kelce and like what made him so good, and he didn't look like Travis Kelce. It's just like when you think of like a tight end completely changing an offense, completely taking over a game, it looks like what Brock Bowers did, and that like just can't replicate that.
In a gross like overtime loss at the last seconds, it was awesome as a Raiders fan just to see Brock Bowers still look like that guy when he came back. Like even as a Raiders fan, you miss that much time and you kind of forget how good this guy is. There's no forgetting it here. He's faster than everybody and he's big. It's just a combo that's ridiculous. He's a matchup nightmare. You can't match up with him.
His hands are so good too, and I just I was gonna say, like, I think that just throw out everything you saw post week 1 from Bowers because he was playing through injury, and I think that going forward he's just gonna be matchup proof, consistent. He's not gonna get 40 points, but he's gonna be really good each week, I think.
And it looks like the Raiders are bad enough that they're just going back to the spam Brock Bowers over and over and over again, which is what everyone was worried. They're like, oh, he'll be too good, so you won't be able to do it over and over again. Like he won't get as much volume. They're gonna go straight back to it.
Yeah. And then my last guy, I said DeAndre Swift, but he was out, so I specifically said the Bears starting running back. And Kyle Monangai, I mean, he looked really good. Obviously in fantasy, he was amazing, but like he really shakes off some tackles. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he looks like a lot, just great value in the 7th round. He looked just, again, it was against the Bengals, but you don't just put up over 200 yards from scrimmage, I believe. Like that's not just like a matchup thing. Like that's awesome. So looks like the Bears run game, I think they have like the 6th most rushing yards in the league this year, which is crazy. So definitely liked all those guys. My gut check starts. Hit on Jalen Waddle, hit on Jameson Williams. Travis Hunter unfortunately didn't play. Controversial sits. Alvin Kamara. At this point, he's not even controversial. It's like, yeah, he was awful. So definitely should have benched him. And then the only one I missed was arguably Bo Nix, but he wasn't great. He was like middle of the pack for quarterbacks, and there were some better options on streaming. If you had done that, I did that. I started Sam Darnold. I was super happy I sat Bo Nix, so I counted it as a win for myself.
Yep, that's fair. I ended up sitting in for Jackson Dart. That felt pretty good. So
yeah, there you go.
All right, let's talk about this week. So let's start off with nuclear boys. I'll go ahead and start off since I'm getting us through here. I'm gonna cheat and talk about the RB1, Jonathan Taylor. Against the Falcons, he had his first single-digit week this week, and that was a large part due to Daniel Jones becoming a turnover machine against the Steelers for whatever reason, which is a little bit worrisome because we've seen this Daniel Jones before. So I think the Colts, to help bolster Daniel Jones, are going to go back to relying on the run game and just let the run game do the majority of the work. Now, the Falcons aren't a bad defense by any means, but Jonathan Taylor's built different. He's going to have a great game. He is going to blow up, and they're going to dominate this game.
And also think about it, it's an international game in Germany, and, like, the international fans would love to see Jonathan Taylor just get a ton of carries and, like,
Hmm.
be blown away. Like, that's makes the price of admission worth it.
If there's anything I know about German people, it's that they really love running backs.
And Bijan, also Bijan on the opposing end, so that's
Uh,
that's exciting.
it'll be good, and I really think that Jonathan Taylor's just gonna immediately go back to having like this could be another 2 touchdown game from him
Yeah.
because you can't if you are the Colts coach Steichen, you can't let Daniel Jones string together games like that
No. Yeah,
because you
you gotta
can't
keep him
take this
confident.
confidence. Yep.
Yeah.
So.
I think there's a chance that LaDainian he breaks it's not likely, but he could break LaDainian Tomlinson's touchdown record. I think he's on pace to.
Hmm.
Pretty crazy.
It's nuts, but how many 3 touchdown games has he had already? Like
Yeah.
it keeps happening, and again, that offense is humming
Mhm.
as long as they stop Daniel Jones's turnovers, and that's got to be a confidence thing. Don't let him string together those games. Get Jonathan Taylor back out there, get him doing his thing.
Mhm.
My other one is Quinshawn Judkins. I don't actually know that he counts as a nuclear boy at this point, but he's going against the Jets team that just traded away Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner. It's a defeated team that is clearly stocking up for next year already. And the Browns aren't going to beat you through the air. That's not what they're going to do. Like
No.
you're not going to have Gabriel come out here and blow up who Cedric Tillman maybe if he's back. That's not it. So Quinshawn Judkins is going to score maybe 1, maybe 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see 2 rushing, 1 receiving. Why not?
That would be amazing. I'll stop at 2, but I love the idea of 3. But I think Quinshawn is going to come back in after getting hurt, not looking great against the Patriots. He's going to have a fantastic game. You're going to love starting him.
I like it.
Yeah, hit
Um,
us with your nuclear.
oh yeah, my nuclear. So one I want to kind of similar to Jonathan Taylor, is a never great running back that had a down week is Jameer Gibbs. I really wanted to put him here for similar reasons. I want to highlight the fact that last week was very fluky. It's really not going to be. I think it was like his lowest scoring game in like 2.5 years, and he still put up 8 points. So I expect Gibbs to come back against the Commanders defense and just really light it up. Also, like on paper, it would make a lot of sense to get hyped about James Cook against the Dolphins run defense, but I'm gonna flip it and I'm gonna say Devon Achane against the Bills run defense. So the Bills look great this past week, but we can't forget that their run defense is not great, and they didn't do anything really to address it in with the trade deadline. And the Chiefs don't have much of a run game, so we didn't get to see that in effect against the Bills' run defense this past week. But we saw the Falcons lose, or excuse me, the Falcons beat the Bills because of Bijan. So I think that Devon Achane he put up 16 points in the last matchup, and I think I don't. I could be wrong. I think this one is in Miami, so maybe even better weather. So I like Devon Achane to also be a nuclear boy and James Cook. It's definitely going to be a run heavy game, I think.
Now, you got to monitor James Cook and his injury currently because it sounds like he's hurt. Would you just 1-for-1 play Ray Davis or Ty Johnson? Is it that one? If James Cook is out?
I would love to say yes, but we've seen just a complete split between Davis and Johnson this year, and we've seen the touchdown 1 or 2 go to Johnson. So throwing out everything I said beginning of season, I think I'd probably start Ty Johnson.
Okay.
But yeah, that's going to be a really great game. Excited for that one. And so Devon Achane, and then yes, it is in Miami. Okay. And then the other one I have is Drake May. Kind of similar logic. He didn't have a great game last week, still solid, but I think that this game against the Patriots is going to be an absolute shootout, and it has game of the week potential. I think Baker and Drake are both top 5 and MVP candidates in my mind. So I think they both have a lot to prove, both coming off kind of mediocre-ish games. So I think Drake May is really going to get it done against the Bucs, and the Bucs are pretty solid, but they don't have an incredible defense. So I think Drake's ceiling is pretty high.
Yeah. That tracks me, and it is the Patriots versus the Buccaneers. Yeah, I mean, I could just see the Bucs being super gutty and hanging in there no matter what happens, which is great for fantasy because that means the game's never really out of hand, so you don't have to worry about them just running the ball. And also, if Ramondre is out again, which he did miss the Wednesday practice, who knows what Vrabel does?
Yeah.
You know. Okay, let's move on to gas guys. Gas guys are people that are probably starters on your team anyways, but we're saying that, hey, you want to make sure that they're in your lineup this week. If you have other people who are the same, plug these dudes in instead. I'm going to start off with, and I'm going to start with Bears running back. We went here last week. You did. I'm going to go here this week. If Swift is playing, play Swift, and if he's not, play Manon guy. The Giants have been getting torn apart on the run lately. Now, of course, they did go against the 49ers and the Eagles. But I just see the Bears coming out and immediately attacking them. Again, they had a lot of success with Monongai last week. I don't see a reason to go away from it. This is a team where the run can open up the pass, and the run's going to be fantastic. So if Swift plays, I'm choosing him first. But if not, Monongai is a fine replacement. And if you have Monongai and Swift plays, I would say only play one.
Yeah, I think so. I might not have that luxury, but yeah. I think
That's the way it goes. Yeah. And then my second is Tetaroa McMillan. He is the Panthers rookie wide receiver. Everyone knows who this guy is. And they're going against the Saints. The Saints have been kind of just bad all around. However, the Panthers really need to get Tetaroa going, and I think this is the game where they're going to get him going. So
I like it. Yeah. For my gas guys, the first one I got is Rico Dowdle, also against the Saints. I think that we really saw against the Packers last week that it is Rico's backfield, at least for now. Like they paid Chuba all that money, but like Rico has just looked incredible against the Packers defense, which admittedly has kind of gone by the wayside a bit since the start of the year, but he still looked like he was, playing close to the Bengals defense last week. He just looked awesome. So I expect him to get heavily involved. Like Bryce has been really inconsistent, and I think to beat the Saints to like guarantee that divisional win, they're gonna lean on the run and just go for that. So I expect a lot of Rico carries. My other gas guy, I got two more. One is another Bears player, but I think that kind of going with a trend here. I think bounce back. Rome Odunze, he got you 0 points last week. That hurt. I think that's an anomaly. I think you can start him this week against the Giants. I think at the very least, he's going to get you double digits. I think that he's going to be really, really good. I expect a bounce back game. And then my last gas guy, also in that game, is someone who I really see having become this year's Justin Fields, and that's Jackson Dart, in the sense that a great running mobile quarterback that still passes a lot, and he does not have any weapons in this New York team, so he gets it done off his legs. Dart's been awesome for fantasy. I think, especially against the Bears, though, he's super, super startable. But it seems like if he's your QB1 right now, you can kind of roll with that. Like, I mean, there's really no weapons here, but he's getting it done. I don't know. And he's getting a rushing touchdown like 90% of the time. So I think against the Bears, though, that his ceiling is like QB1 on the week, I think.
he is. I mean, it's no shock. He just looks like he is there. He's with it. He's playing, and when he can't pass the ball, he rushes the ball.
And he doesn't hold on to the ball too long. Like he's decisive with what he wants to do.
It's wild. We talked about it earlier, but he has no real playmakers at this point that you would consider true threats. Like it's Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, Theo Johnson, Bellinger if he's back. But even if he's back, that doesn't move the needle much. And yet here he is, still doing it. Okay, we'll move on to GutCheck. These are players that you may not play all the time, but this is a good week for it. I'm going to start with the 49ers wide receiver, Jawan Jennings. I'm doing this based on the information that Pearsall doesn't look like he's going to play. I think that Jawan Jennings is going to have a great game. The Rams and the 49ers games seem to always be competitive, always high scoring. You keep going back to that well. Shanahan versus McVay. is a fantastic game almost no matter what. They won't let it be obvious either who's going to beat who, and I mean that like players wise.
Mm.
And I think Jawan Jennings is going to be the guy on the 49ers who benefits the most, and he's going to score the touchdown.
He finally looked healthy last week. It wasn't like he just came back and was like just barely there. He like got the touchdown last week, and he like did look like he was finally back.
Mm-hmm. And that team it's still a mess. If Pearsall's not back, they don't really have a wide receiver outside of him. I mean, like Kendrick Bourne, who they used out of necessity,
Mm-hmm.
and Demarcus Robinson, who they didn't really use. And Kittle's there, but Kittle hasn't been used in the same way. Kittle's really been hard focused on making sure McCaffrey's open. McCaffrey's going to do fine. There's no way he doesn't, because that's who the offensive identity is. But I think Jawan Jennings is the pass catcher you want in this game for the 49ers. And then my other one is you actually do want to plug in Alec Pierce against the Falcons. Now, here's my thought process, okay? Because I had Jonathan Taylor earlier. So you might be thinking, wow, what do you expect for this Colts offense? And I expect a full-on bounce back. They lost to the Steelers, and Daniel Jones looked bad. Like I said, confidence matters. They are going to come out against this Falcons offense, and they are going to want to win and win big.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to come out against the Falcons defense, of course. But either which way. So they're going to lean on Jonathan Taylor to secure the win, and then after that, just like get Daniel Jones in it. Go into the bye with momentum. Don't go into the bye with bad feelings and bad vibes. And Alec Pierce he's just a good deep threat. That's the player you go to. You say pass that ball down the field, pad your stats a little bit, get your long touchdown. Let's do it.
That's exactly it. And I think that just winning the game and looking incredible on the run isn't enough to build up Daniel Jones's confidence again. I think that getting that accuracy down the field, getting that touchdown that Alec Pierce will really go a long way based on what we saw last week. So that's a great pick. My gut check starts. Dippins as well one last time, but again, like I think that Jackson Dart's going to light it up against the Bears, and I think that Theo Johnson is a good gut check start. If he's on waivers, we didn't mention him, but if Theo Johnson's on waivers, I think he's a solid pickup in lieu of Tucker Kraft's injury. I'd still go K-Dot or Mason Taylor over him, probably Mason Taylor, but I think that he against the Bears defense, I think that he's very likely to get a touchdown and be involved. And I think he's a solid start this week. This one is this is a true gut check feeling. This is like that Jonnu Smith when I called both of his touchdowns kind of feeling. So I don't think it's a consistent thing because the Vikings do have a good defense, but their secondary is iffy. And we saw in back-to-back weeks, the wide receiver 2, Devonta Smith and Jameson Williams get a touchdown, look great against this Vikings secondary. This is a team that absolutely needs to beat the Vikings and stay in it. And it's kind of hard to say who the wide receiver 2 is on this team. If you just look purely at the wideouts, I think it's Rashad Bateman. So I'm going to say Rashad Bateman this week. This is, it's a desperation play, but if you have buys, if you have injuries, I think he's probably on your waiver wire. I just got a gut feeling he's going to get a touchdown. I think that Zay Flowers is also a good play this week, but I think Rashad Bateman, because the Ravens need to diversify their passing game. Lamar's been passing the ball a lot. I think that Bateman is a good start. And this one, I think I got a little too excited here. I don't think you can start all of them, but I think the Chargers pass catchers are going to look great this week because the Chargers and the Steelers. I like the Chargers more. But I think these two teams are pretty evenly matched offensively and defensively. And I think that it's going to be a shootout. So if you play best ball, like Chargers wide receivers, and throw Gadsden in there too, they're going to look nice. Also, the run game looked pretty bad last week, and it looked bad. The Steelers played the Colts pretty hard too. So I don't think the run's going to be much of a factor in this game. I think it's going to be a shootout. So if you get a Chargers wideout, start it. Start him.
I think it's interesting because how can the Chargers possibly cover Darnell Washington, Pat Freiermuth, and Jonnu Smith? How can they do it? You can't do that because that's too many tight ends. You don't have that many linebackers. You can't possibly put a cornerback on one of them or something like that. I'm gonna play DK Metcalf again, and this isn't related to what you just said, and it's gonna hurt me again.
God.
And I'm just getting mentally prepared right now. They're speaking the words out loud, and just already, I need to get the disappointment out of my body before I start.
I think it's gonna be a shootout. So there's touchdown upside there.
Okay, and so our last little bit here is going to be our controversial sits. These are players that you would likely normally play, and instead we're telling you to sit them. So the first one here for me is Marvin Harrison Jr. This is particularly because you just saw Marvin Harrison Jr. have a great game, a wonderful game. He looks like the wide receiver that potentially everyone thought he might be, but then you turn around and immediately go against the Seahawks. Seahawks are going to shut them down. There's no question. I've seen enough of the Seahawks at this point to know this is a divisional game, which those are weird. They're not that weird though. The Seahawks are going to figure out a way to shut down Marvin Harrison Jr. and maybe McBride as well. But I'm telling you to sit Marvin Harrison Jr.
This is I think the last time they played it, that was a game where Marvin got that touchdown like late, but like he had drops, he was covered the whole game. Like he did not look good in this game against the Seahawks last time, and neither did McBride. So it's a good pick.
And then my second controversial sit is going to be Rachaad White against the Patriots. Rachaad White, of course, even if it's Bucky Irving who plays back there, I'm going to tell you to temper your expectations. The Patriots have been phenomenal against the run. They are on basically the same level as the Seahawks, and the Seahawks have a historic defense at this point for their team. So you don't really want a piece of that right now. You want passing game pieces for the Buccaneers. You do not want Rachaad White. There is a world in which in PPR he has an okay game. I can't imagine him having a good game to great game, though.
I'm going to agree with that for two reasons. One, well, I think Bucky coming back from injury, if he does play, he's going to be limited. So I'd sit Bucky for that reason. And then two, Rachaad White has looked really good, but we've seen Sean Tucker get those goal line carries. So I don't think Rachaad really has much touchdown upside this week. So, yeah.
Yeah. The only potential path to upside for him for me is PPR. And I don't think the Buccaneers really need that because Baker's good at getting the ball down the field.
Yeah. So Mike, two. So one is I thought about this for a minute, but it really is just any starting Jacksonville Jaguar player. Not just because they're playing the Texans, but everyone, like, never start Trevor. Jacoby's just getting into this offense. Brian Thomas Jr. is probably out or on a snap count. Travis Hunter's out. Parker Washington has been super boomer bust, and now Jacoby's here. Travis Etienne against the Texans' run defense, yikes. So every single Jacksonville Jaguar do not play this week. And then my last one, this is probably pretty controversial, but there's some logic here. I'm going to sit Breece Hall, and it sounds pretty crazy because they didn't lose any weapons. They gained a weapon of Adonai Mitchell, but I think that one, it's the Browns run defense. Two, this team is just extremely deflated. Breece Hall sounds like he's deflated. I don't think the Jets want to win this game. And I think that Garrett Wilson coming back, they're going to want to use him more than anyone. And it's easier to pass on the Browns than it is to run. So I see the game script for this game not going in Breece Hall's favor. And I think in PPR, he can put up 7 points, but that's nothing to get excited about. I think if you can comfortably sit Breece Hall, I would.
Yeah, and this also makes sense just with the team as well because the Browns are good against running backs. Even if they're terrible offense, eventually their defense can crack. I don't think it'll crack this week because the Jets aren't a great offense. But speaking of Breece, I have a question here in chat. I'll pop this up since we're getting close to ending here. So it's a 10-team standard. Traded Breece away for Waddle or Bucky for Adams. The team has a lot of RBs, but no wide receiver twos.
Trade Bucky for Adams. I like that. I think Adams is just he's been extremely consistent. He's saved me some weeks on mine. And Stafford looks like MVP right now, in my opinion. And he's passing the ball a lot. I think just because you have a lot of running backs, I would go for this trade.
I do like Bucky a lot, but for this particular trade, I think it's worthwhile. So Devontae Adams is schemed in a way for the Rams where he is going to continue getting touchdowns.
Mhm.
That is what they want from him. He runs the fade over and over and over again in the red zone. And it's been working phenomenally. Like Stafford is a good quarterback. He knows where to place the ball, and Adams is a good wide receiver. He knows where to go get the ball. They're going to
And,
keep doing it.
and
Adams, I think, is number 1 in the league in touchdowns right now
and
as far as wide receivers.
he's never going to be the focal point because Puka's always going to have to be watched in
Mm-hmm.
the end zone.
So Bucky for Adams is a trade I would do if you have the running backs to absorb the
Yeah.
trade and the wide receiver need, which it sounds like you do.
Mhm.
So I would be 100% okay doing Bucky for Adams. Now, if you decide Brees for Waddle, I don't actually hate that trade either. Waddle has been consistent. He is the wide receivers are going to keep going to, and until Waller comes back, if he does come back, that's the only real receiver they have on their team.
Yeah,
So I don't hate that, but if you're choosing between the two, absolutely Bucky for Adams.
I agree. And then both of these trades are honestly pretty fair. These are like
Mm-hmm.
good trades. That's a good league to be in.
Yeah, I got this. I have Stafford at QB, so yeah, I get it, man. I do it. It doesn't move the needle a ton for me, but I do love it. Like it's got to be fun because every time you see that touchdown, you're gonna get 12 points instead of, or 10 or 12 points instead of the 6.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, thanks for asking the question. Willie, do you have anything else that you wish to talk about? Because I think we kind of busted through most of what we were gonna do.
Yeah, I don't really. I think this next slate of games is also looking really good. I don't know if you have a favorite. I think the one I'm probably I'm Giants Bears, but I think the one I'm most excited for is I think Patriots Bucks is going to be awesome.
Patriots Bucks sounds amazing. Rams 49ers is always a fun game to watch. It really
Yeah.
is. The hard part about this week for me is as a Raiders fan, I really hate when our team is on prime time because we really just find a way to look terrible. So I am worried about that. But Rams 49ers is probably the game I'm most excited to watch. It's just McVay versus Shanahan is always just a chess match of each of them beating each other and then finding out who wins at the end.
Yeah, they're always like the last game went to overtime. It's always exciting down to the wire.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think Falcons Colts is probably the best international game we're going to see so far this year.
There's actually 2 starting quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I don't know that that's happened before.
two incredible running backs too.
Yeah.
And then Eagles Packers is going to be pretty fun.
See,
Hopefully.
yeah.
Defensive slog, but still fun.
I even like Steelers Chargers because I think they match up really well.
Yeah, they
I
do.
think that'll be an interesting one. Yeah, so it is a good week. Even the bad games will be interesting. Like Jets Browns.
I'm loving that. Yeah.
I am excited to watch the Browns have an opportunity to come out and smash a team and still somehow fumble it away,
I love it.
Okay, so good luck everybody in week 10.